Erica Gilmore from Hummingbird Chocolate, welcome back to OV Boss Babe.
Thanks so much, Holly. I'm really happy to talk to you again.
Erica, it's been such a hot minute since we last spoke because I first brought you back on the pod in 2021.
Wow.
And a lot has changed since then. 4 years goes by pretty quickly.
Definitely. Yes. I can't believe it's been that long.
I know. Now, your love of chocolate and working with farmers around the world eventually led you and your husband establishing your chocolate company, Hummingbird Chocolate, in 2012.
Right.
That's really going back now.
Yes. Yeah. It's been 13 years, which
That's crazy.
seems like a really long time, but also a really short time.
But let's rewind back to when you and your husband began dating and doing important work in Afghanistan, which is actually such a pivotal chapter in your journey, Erica.
Yeah.
So can you take us back there and explain what exactly the kind of work that you guys were doing with farmers specifically?
Yeah. So we met in 2002. We were there just after 9/11. And initially, I was working for a nonprofit organization in Washington, D.C., and had written a program that was funded by the U.S. government. And we were looking for someone to go and run that program. So I actually called my husband to do the first interview. I did not know him, of course, at that point, to do an interview with him to see if he would be a good fit for this project, and recommended to my boss that we hire him. And so they sent him to Afghanistan. And then a few months later, I went over as well. And so we met and worked together for a few months. And then he left and worked for the UN, and I continued to stay there. And that was when we started dating, which is a sort of surreal experience in a war zone. But there were a lot of parties. So that is sort of what we did. And we worked there for probably about 3 years. And I did a variety of things. But eventually we worked with farmers to help them dehydrate vegetables and then export them to Europe. So it was the first kind of vegetable export that happened in Afghanistan after that war. And we found that it was really amazing the difference that it could have, because it opened up a new market for farmers. And so they were not just tied to selling for a low price in their local markets, but really were able to add some value to their vegetables and then export them. And then I was also able to work with women to do a sun-dried tomato project. And we focused on that because, women can't really work outside of the house culturally. But there was an idea that if they had some income that they kind of controlled, that it would give them some power within the household. And that did seem to be the case. And so we helped set them up with the equipment that they needed to be able to do the vegetable dehydration or the sun-dried tomatoes, like within their yards, and not have to leave the house. And then that income went directly to them. And, there's been a lot of research around the world that when women control the funds, the family does better, because women are more likely to spend the money on their children and on food and on education. And so, yeah, that was probably my most favorite project that I did in Afghanistan.
Now, going back to the personal aspect between you and your husband, Erica, I mean, talk about what a challenging environment it must have been for dating back then, and especially in such an interesting environment being in Afghanistan. And I'm sure we could do a whole different podcast on that in itself and what that was like. Not a typical going on a typical date to Nobes or anything.
Not typical, yeah.
Yeah. But how did you and Drew eventually tie agriculture and chocolate together? Like, how was this idea formed?
Well, I mean, really that, we both come from kind of farming backgrounds. And so we have a particular interest in farmers and helping them in any way we can. But that really happened later when we moved to Canada, and we were still doing lots of work in Afghanistan. I had our daughter, and so I was not traveling there anymore, but Drew still was and was away quite a bit. And then we were kind of just looking at other things that we might want to do and learned a little bit about this craft chocolate thing that was happening. I mean, similar to craft beer, I guess, that um, for so long the large companies and industries were making chocolate on a very industrial scale. And there was this movement of sort of, well, we can do this on a smaller scale with good ingredients, and it becomes this whole new product. I mean, the first time I tasted craft chocolate, it was like eating a new food group because it just doesn't taste anything like, I think, um, a Hershey bar. Like it's very different from what's made on an industrial scale. Um, and so we kind of had this aha moment of, well, you need cocoa beans, which are grown by farmers and very challenging circumstances to make chocolate. And maybe this would be something that we should like to do because I love chocolate and love eating chocolate. And we built a little mini factory in our basement in Stittsville and just started playing around with making chocolate and quickly became addicted to it.
Now, okay, Erica, like that all sounds great and all,
Mhm.
but we have to go back a little bit because you were still working a corporate job. So, and just to kind of give our listeners a little bit of a background story to your history, you're actually a former American,
Yes.
and your husband was the one that convinced you to
Come to
come
Canada.
to Canada and become a Canadian citizen.
Yeah.
And then you ended up going to grad school
Mhm.
in Ottawa as well.
Yeah.
So, can you kind of walk through the process of basically how you went from like graduating from grad school?
Mhm.
Getting on with, can you remind me where you, because you were a program director or program manager, sorry.
Yeah, for Development Works
Yeah.
Canada, which was actually my husband and his company. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so that was a lot of the work that he was doing in Afghanistan, kind of when we came back and after I finished grad school. And so he did some projects there in Kandahar, funded by the Canadian government, to help build more schools, wells, do some economic development programs, and that kind of thing. And so I was doing the sort of administrative program management side of that. A lot of report writing and all of that type of thing from Ottawa.
All right. So I'm assuming that
Mhm.
Hummingbird Chocolate was not on your bingo card back in 2012.
No.
And it was not something that you thought like that this could grow and become something huge like it is
Yeah.
today. But where was the starting point? So, because Drew wasn't even that much of a chocolate fanatic, it was
No.
more you.
Yeah, yeah, it was very much me. I love chocolate. I think, it's kind of strange. It's one of those things I'm not really sure how we got here, you know? I'm happy that we did, but I think it came from a place of wanting to still be involved in agriculture in some way and helping farmers, wanting to control our own lives a little bit because a lot of the work that we did was dependent on funding from the Canadian government or the US government or the UN. And that's challenging because you see what would be helpful in situations like in Afghanistan. Like it's very obvious when you're on the ground there that like, well, what people really need are houses, or what they really need is um, schools. But then you have to go through all of that process of trying to get financing for it. So we just kind of wanted to start our own business and be able to have control over that. And the experience in Afghanistan was really that if you can create a market for farmers, that gives them some stability. It can help reduce poverty. And so Drew went to Haiti after the earthquake. We had also this little nonprofit that we were um, doing in Afghanistan to just help build schools, because that was one of the things that when Drew was in Kandahar especially, and he saw that was such a need and it didn't fit into anything else we were doing. So we just raised money from individuals and just built schools. And when the earthquake happened, he went down there and was kind of looking at what we could maybe do with the nonprofit, and was able to build some temporary schools while the main schools were closed. And that's when he first met a cacao farmer and saw cacao trees. And it all sort of clicked at that point that there's this real need to pay more for cacao because it's very labor intensive, and farmers were not earning very much from that. And it fit into my love of chocolate and this kind of new craft chocolate movement that we'd heard about and ordered a few chocolate bars from a few different companies and loved. So that all kind of clicked.
Now, how
Yeah.
did you first learn how to make chocolate? Like, I'm trying to think back to that time too, because I mean, you guys only had launched Hummingbird Chocolate into your commercial space in 2012, right? Or
Yeah. Yes.
yeah, because you had moved out of your basement.
Hmm.
Was YouTube as big as it was back then? Like, did they have all these tutorials? Like, how did you learn?
Yeah, not so much on YouTube, but there was one website called The Chocolate Alchemist. And he had a lot of information about the kind of equipment that you could use to just play around at home. And so I spent a lot of time there, and ordered beans from him and some of the equipment from him. I think he's in Oregon. And a lot of just chat websites where people would talk about their experiences. So it was mostly that, and it was self-taught. Now there is a program in Canada. There's one at, what's the college called? George Brown, I think, the one
Okay.
outside of Toronto, where you can actually go and learn about how to make chocolate, but there was nothing at the time.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and also just a lot of experimentation.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the reasons that our chocolate is good, because I spent, basically 2 years just playing around in the basement, roasting beans really badly and throwing them away, and making not good batches and then making good batches, and that was the best education I think I could have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Erica, I just want to know, I guess, what your mindset and that process was to when you felt like you were ready to go all in, and who left first? Like, did Drew leave his job first, or did you? And
Yeah.
how did you feel like you were ready to take it to the next level?
Yeah. I did. Drew is still doing some consulting overseas, but he was very involved in the business as well. Um, it was really gradual for us. I think probably by 2014, we were pretty committed to going all in. We were in the basement of Alice's Cafe in Carp for a while, for like a year, and just selling at the farmers market mostly in Ottawa.
Mhm.
And then 2014, we moved into a space in Almonte. And so that felt very real because it was our own dedicated space that we had leased, and we were buying bigger equipment, and it felt like we could maybe make it work.
Now, when we first spoke back in 2021, you mentioned that craft chocolate really started booming around the same time as the craft beer movement, which I thought was interesting because
Yeah.
it's for us, it's just so natural now with so many different chocolate companies out there,
Mhm.
and same with craft brewing companies as well. But I mean, to think that back in the day, like
Yeah.
there weren't as many to choose from, and not as many independent craft beer and chocolate companies.
Mhm.
So when you and Drew were first starting out, what was it like to launch into a market with so little competition, Erica? Like,
Yeah.
was it a little daunting, or were you guys ready to take on that challenge?
Well, there wasn't a lot of competition, but there also wasn't very much recognition from consumers.
Mm.
And so it was an advantage to not have competition, but also a disadvantage because we were basically explaining to everyone we talked to why our chocolate was different and why they should pay more for it. And so that's why farmers markets were so great, because we would have samples and people would taste it. And then usually they would understand. They would be like, oh, this does taste so different. And then they would pay $6 per bar. But it was really hard to explain that if people weren't tasting it, or if we didn't have the opportunity to actually talk to someone, right?
Right. Well, that's what I feel like would be the
Mhm.
most difficult part is to have to explain
Yeah.
and justify your price points,
Yes.
especially when previously and even now, so oftentimes people go to the grocery store and they just grab that Hershey bar
Yeah.
or that Reese's Pieces. Like,
Right.
how do you explain that? Or are those people not your ideal customer?
Yeah, I think a lot of them will graduate up to our chocolate. So what we've tried to do is explain a little bit on our packaging of why we're different. But that's always a hard balance, right? Because you don't want to have too much information on there, but enough to sort of indicate that this is a different product from a Hershey bar.
Hmm.
Um, the thing that we're finding really resonates right now is our ingredients, because we have just 3 ingredients in most of our chocolate bars. We've launched peanut butter cups recently in the past year, which have taken off like crazy. and they only have 5 ingredients in them. And so you look at any other peanut butter cup on the market, and there's at least 7 or 8. And as people become more kind of health conscious and just more conscious of what they're putting in their bodies, that is a really important point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you explain who your ideal customer is that's buying your chocolate? What do they look like? And I mean like a regular person coming in.
Yeah. I think there's a pretty wide variety of people, because they are either the health conscious people who are don't want to put a lot of soy lecithin or palm oil into their bodies, um, or they are those who just want a little bit of an indulgence for themselves, um, or they're really big on gifting, and so they know that it's a premium product and they want to gift it to someone.
Now, speaking of cost, Erica, sorry. So speaking of cost, Erica, what factors did you guys incorporate into putting a price tag on your chocolate, and how did the balance setting of your prices while still making Hummingbird chocolates feel accessible to your customers? How did that work?
Well, it's a continuous conversation, because things have changed a lot since the early days. At the beginning, we were just kind of trying to cover our costs, and be a little bit competitive with what was out there. So not like too much higher than a Godiva bar, which is what I think a lot of people would think of as something that's super premium.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge now is that cacao bean prices have gone like through the roof.
Oh, wow.
They have tripled in the past really year. So they are costing us a lot more, and we have had to increase our prices because of that. But the good part of that is that we're on the shelf with, some other brands like Lindt and Hue might be some that people would recognize, which I'm going to go ahead and say are much lower quality than our chocolate, but our price is not that much higher at this point. And because we make everything from scratch from the bean, we have a little bit more flexibility in our pricing structure than the people who are like buying chocolate that's already made, because it's increased way more than just the bean price.
Well, what also has increased more is your team. So
Yeah.
now you have a team of 12, which, by the way, Erica, I really like how you and Drew structured that on your website,
Okay.
because the way you worded it, it's that it's Drew and Erica's company, but there's no pictures of you and Drew. There's no bio or anything.
Okay.
It just shares the story of how Hummingbird Chocolate came to be. And then it shows each person and their role and their picture.
Okay.
Tell me
I
how
need to look at that.
Yeah,
Because we're actually up to about 20 people
20
right
people
now.
now. Okay, so
because we have the cafe, and so we have quite a few members in the cafe, and we've hired a few more people in our production team recently too. So yeah, probably around 20.
okay, well, we're
Yeah.
gonna have to add those people then to the website
Yeah,
too.
I need to do that.
But what was it like growing your team, and when did you guys first start thinking about outsourcing? Like,
Yeah.
how long into business were you guys?
I think within the first probably 18 months, we hired our first person. Um, and it's kind of fluctuated through time depending on, what we've had going on. I feel like we almost have 2 different businesses now, because we have our wholesale business. So we're shipping to almost over 700 stores now across Canada. And then we have our cafe and retail store and online segment as well. So it's almost like 2 separate businesses. But um, yeah, we just kind of have been adding people over all of that time. I don't know. It's so challenging, because as a small business, there are so many more skill sets that I would love to bring on, but we can't quite afford it yet. And so it's always a balance of when you bring someone on and when are they going to help you be able to afford them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now talk to me about retaining staff, Erica, because now more than ever, it's getting a little bit more challenging out there to try to find different ways to entice people to want to stay and stay long term.
Yeah. We have a few people who've worked with us Emmy's been with us for 9 years, and, quite a few others who've been with us for, 3 to 7 years. Um, and I think that it's also challenging in what we do is in that there are not a lot of people who have a skill set in chocolate making. And so we are trying to find people who are just interested in food and interested in being like really kind of nerdy about making chocolate and then training them. But I think that how do we entice people to stay? I don't know. I think we're lucky in that the people that we bring on tend to be excited about chocolate and excited about the business. And that's something that you hopefully see after a few months of them being with you, that they either are into it or not, you know? And because we are just so focused on quality, it's really important to have people who care.
Yes.
I mean, even in the cafe too, I think we have an amazing cafe team, and they're really excited to talk to people about the chocolate and about, how we make our chocolate for the hot chocolate drinks that they're having, and everything is made in house. So, yeah.
I think it's a lot of factors nowadays. It's not just about the money anymore. It's not about little perks here and there. It's really about flexibility. It's about balancing personal life, personal circumstances,
Yeah.
those come up, and a healthy and positive work environment too, right?
Yeah.
I think that this is what you guys are doing, and you can see that as well on the socials with the behind the scenes
Yeah.
with your company too, with your
nice to
companies, I
hear.
should say.
Yeah.
But can we also just take a minute, Erica, to recognize 700 retailers
Yeah.
that carry Hummingbird chocolate?
Yeah.
That's huge.
It's huge. And we really just decided in the last kind of 2 years that we really were going to go for it, and that we wanted to get Hummingbird across Canada. And that was because of a few reasons. One, we moved into a new space in Almonte that's much bigger, and so we have the capacity to make more chocolate. And then two, I think it's just the environment of the marketplace right now, and that people are more, as I was talking about earlier, more aware of what they're eating and looking for those simple ingredients, and more open to the price point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Experience Almonte, Ontario, where small-town charm meets big-hearted community. Walk our historic downtown, lined with local shops, cafes, and creators whose passion shapes every corner. Here, small businesses aren't just places to shop. They're neighbors, storytellers, and the heartbeat of the town. And as the holidays arrive, it shines even brighter. Join us for our night markets. A magical evening of lights, music, local vendors, and community spirit that fills the streets. Experience Almonte, Ontario. Experience the warmth, the welcome, and the wonder of a town that feels like home. Eat, and stay local this winter. Almonte has a little something for everyone.
At Michelin Dumont Design, we believe your home should be more than 4 walls. It should feel like you. With over 20 years of experience, we bring warmth, function, and personality into every room. From choosing the perfect paint palette to reimagining your kitchen, bathroom, or family space, we turn your vision into reality. Let us take the guesswork out of design and help create a space that's truly yours. Design. Fall in love with your home again. Book your design consult today.
Now let's go back once more, Erica, and
Mhm.
talk about the name. Where did Hummingbird come from?
Yes. Well, we love hummingbirds, and there are hummingbirds that migrate between Canada and Latin America, which is where most of our cacao beans come from. So we just liked that connection of, the hummingbirds migrating in the same way that the cacao beans are.
How long did it take for you guys to settle on this name, or was it pretty easy?
It took us a while. We were really focused on birds and animals, and so we were thinking about a few different birds, but everyone loves hummingbirds, and they have a lot of meaning for a lot of people, and so I think that it was a good choice because immediately the name grabs people.
Yeah.
And I also just loved the idea of the visual on packaging. I think it's very striking and it draws people in. It comes a little bit from my attraction to wine bottles because I was, when we were thinking about what did we want the packaging to look like, I was thinking about how I'm always drawn to a wine bottle that has like an animal or a bird or something on it.
Okay.
So that's how that happened.
What are some names that didn't make the cut?
Blackbird, I think was one. Robin, we talked about. Those are the main ones I remember.
Okay. I'm glad you guys went with Hummingbird.
Yeah,
It
right.
has a good ring to it.
Yeah, much better.
Now I want to talk to you guys, or sorry. No, guys. Next, I want to unpack the intricacies of chocolate packaging, Erica. So your bags are instantly recognizable and they're so beautifully designed. Can you walk us through the process from concept to final product and share some of the challenges that went into making the packaging that not only protects your chocolate because we can't have it melting,
Yeah.
but also that also tells the hummingbird story too.
Yeah. I mean, our packaging has changed quite a bit over the years. But initially, when Drew and I were starting the company, when we were thinking about it, we went and looked at chocolate shelves in a lot of different types of stores. So the grocery stores and even the specialty stores. And especially at that time, everything was dark. It was either like brown or it was black. And it was I mean, I think it was trying to look luxurious, but it was also just kind of boring, we thought. And so we went with yellow because it's a happy color. It stood out on the shelf. It just seemed very cheery and joyful to us. So we went with the yellow, which is a hard color actually to pair with a lot of other things and to get the like tone just right. So sometimes I regret that for that reason, but I still think it makes me happy. Um, and then there's a challenge, I think, on our packaging of trying to tell people what we do and why our chocolate is different, but not overwhelm with information. So we put tasting notes on the back because for our single origin bars, especially because chocolate is like wine and that every different type of cacao bean has its own unique terroir. And so what we're trying to do with those bars is just highlight the natural character of the beans. And we want people to be able to know a little bit about what that chocolate's going to taste like, which was confusing for people at the beginning because, for instance, our Hispaniola bar says that it, has hints of cherry and raisin, I think, and people really thought that we had cherries and raisins in the chocolate a lot of the time. So, but I think that we've gotten past that. And then we want our chocolate to look premium but still accessible. And so we're always trying to meet that balance of making it look, nice and like something you would want to gift, but also like something that you would buy for yourself just to treat yourself, right?
Now, I'm guessing that Hummingbird Chocolate was only available online even before you opened your retail space. So how are you marketing Hummingbird Chocolate before, like when you guys were still in your basement? Like, and again, like, I mean, we're trying to think back, like, was Facebook Marketplace even, like, I don't even think that it was available back then. Like, how are you guys selling your chocolate?
Yeah, I think Facebook was around. I think we had our Facebook page pretty early. I remember joining Twitter because Twitter was quite big
Yes.
at the time. And we didn't really do a lot of marketing because mostly we were selling at the farmers market and a few other retailers. And I don't even remember when we started our online store actually, but it probably would have been 2014 or 2015.
Okay, so before
Yeah.
COVID times then.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What were sales like during COVID times, Erica? Were you guys seeing like a real spike in orders?
Yes, online ordering went way up. We had to close our retail store for some of that time, of course. And it was interesting because wholesale was quite big. It was somewhat big for us at the time. And places like Farm Boy and Whole Foods were ordering more because people were going to grocery stores, and that was kind of all they were doing. But the smaller stores were not ordering. So we actually did okay during COVID. I think that there were a lot of people who were trying to support small businesses and local businesses, which, greatly appreciate. And it really kept things going for us. So yeah, the online orders were amazing during COVID. Definitely gone down since then. But, the retail has been great. So
Yeah. All right, Erica, now I want you to think back to, again, back in 2012, to your future self coming to you and saying, listen, Erica, you're going to eventually have so many wholesalers and you're going to have this massive team of 20 people working under you and for you and with you. Where do you start? Like, especially for marketing for online orders and utilizing Facebook and Twitter to attract that customer online, because like you were mentioning, it's really hard when people don't get to actually taste it. They see that price tag and they're like, oh, I can just go to the grocery store and get a Kit Kat for 99 cents.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say that I'm struggling with that right now.
Are you okay?
Yeah, because we had an amazing team member who was doing our social media and a lot of that marketing who moved on a few months ago. And we've been sort of thinking about what we want to do in the meantime. And my daughter was home, and so she took over our social media for the summer months, and got our first 10 million view reel, actually, which was crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah. So yes, I think we've been really focused on wholesale and have not been very focused on online sales, and there's a huge opportunity for us there. So that is on my to-do list of figuring out how to make that work. And I know you've talked to Emily Arbor from Cheerfully Made, and she's great at that. And I know we've been talking about it a little bit. I've been asking her for her experiences and advice. And so I think I need to have another coffee with her and see what she says.
Erica, I really appreciate your transparency and openness about this, because I think so oftentimes smaller scale business owners look at larger scale business owners and they're like, oh, like, they don't have to show up as much on the socials and they don't have to market. And oh my gosh, it must be nice to have all these different opportunities with retailers and grocery stores across Canada. But you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's really nice and relatable too to know that everybody is struggling with the socials. Like, there's not enough time in the day to be able to market that. And you really do have to outsource and find somebody, I hate saying it, either skilled or younger that knows what they're doing and can really put the power to it and to focus and make it effective.
Yeah.
And one thing, just as we're having a conversation here, that I'm like, what, the power of AI and all these different creative apps. I mean, how cool would it be to kind of recreate Charlie in the Chocolate Factory when Charlie reached across the TV or whoever it was and out came that chocolate bar.
Yeah.
To be able to kind of recreate that too, like, let's make it 20 million do, like,
Exactly.
by doing something like that, like, instead of reaching for that Wonka bar via Hummingbird.
Absolutely. I think there's so much opportunity there.
Yeah.
And especially with chocolate and the machines and like flowing chocolate always looks intriguing. So, any kind of video of chocolate doing anything gets some pretty good views. But it's something that it's not my strength or what I'm super interested in. So, but I'm trying to do it right now.
Yeah.
Although we have a great team and they all come up with ideas and we'll send me videos and pictures and whatever reels are trending and all that kind of stuff. So we're kind of doing it ourselves right now, but I would like to focus on that more. And even digital advertising, I think, is something we really haven't done. And I think if we did, we would see some great revenue from it, but it just hasn't been the focus. I mean, I think that's the other thing about being a small business is that you can't do everything at once. And so we decided to focus on wholesale, and that's been amazing and really taken off. And so now it's time to focus on other things.
Well, let's get into the wholesaling process. When did you guys first start wholesaling, and who was your first wholesaler?
I can't remember exactly, but we started wholesaling pretty soon after in 2012. Because we had great stores come and see us at the farmer's market. One of the first ones I remember is the Red Apron, because I had loved their store, and she came by our booth at the farmer's market and was interested in carrying the chocolate. So I think they might have been the first ones. but also Passion Poivre and Almonte were pretty early for us. And Jojo Coco, which is in Canada, and she carries all sorts of amazing chocolate brands. She started her business at about the same time as us, and we kind of walked in when she had just opened her doors and said, we're new and we're just starting to make chocolate. And it was kind of this funny moment of like, she thought she was starting the store and she would have to explain to everyone what bean to bar chocolate is. And then here was a new bean to bar chocolate maker right in her back door that was walking in. So she's been an amazing support for us our whole business lives.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that first moment when you first had like your first major order and you were kind of like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
we're growing. People want to buy our chocolate. Like this is the
Yeah.
time. Like what was that feeling like?
It was very exciting and also probably a little overwhelming. Farm Boy was our first kind of big retailer, and they probably only had 20 stores at the time. We launched with them in probably 2015 because it was before we won the Golden Bean. Yeah, it was so surreal to walk into a Farm Boy store and see our chocolate on the shelves. I'm sure I have pictures. I should go back and find those.
Yeah.
And they're still one of our best customers. Like, they're very supportive and still buy a lot of chocolate from us. And then I remember our first Whole Foods order too, because Whole Foods just sort of in the food world just has this sort of like, you've made it if you're in Whole Foods, right? And so when we got our first Whole Foods order, that felt really exciting too.
That's so exciting. It's just, it's one of those moments that it's like, pinch me. Like, is this real? Especially to see a major grocery store retailer carrying your product.
Yeah.
And I think it gives a lot of inspiration to, again, many business owners who have that ambition and that goal to do it. How many times, though, were we knocking on the doors? Were we showing up in person? We were sending lots of emails, lots of phone calls. Like, again, I really want to break this down for business owners that want that opportunity too.
Yeah. It's been a variety of experiences working with different ones. Like Farm Boy, we talked to them for quite a while before they brought us in. Whole Foods was fairly quick, if I recall. I don't remember where we met the buyer, but we sent them samples and they liked it and brought us in pretty quickly, just to the Ottawa store though. And then eventually we got into all of the stores across Canada. And then, some of the larger ones we've been working with towards really in the last 2 years have been Fortino's, which is in Toronto. So we just got listed with them. And it helps now that we go to we just came back from this weekend, the CHFA, which is the Health Food Association trade show. And so we go and you meet all of the buyers there and they get to taste your product and you get to talk to them. And that really helps a lot. Yeah.
Now, Erica, shifting gears a little bit, I went on your website and I noticed that you guys have a section for donation requests, which I think is great. However, that can become overwhelming, right? A lot of requests, steak and doughs, 50-50 giveaways, or anything for donations, like an event and stuff. So I'm sure you're receiving not only just charitable requests, but also random requests for donations.
Yeah.
And I recently actually spoke with a business owner whose business recently closed, and I asked her what she thought happened. And without dropping names or anything, she did mention that was her downfall, was that she was all about community and supporting community, and she had a really difficult time saying no to all these requests because she really wanted to give back. But she just said that, she wasn't comfortable setting boundaries to say no, or that she couldn't always donate. So how do you deal with these kinds of requests, and how do you know when to cap it and kind of, to leverage, like, would this be a good opportunity for us? Different exposure? How do you guys handle those requests that come in?
Yes, we get, it probably at least 2 or 3 every day.
Yeah.
And we put that on the website because we were just getting so many emails, and they still come in as an email and we have to respond to them. But it is really overwhelming, and I understand that everyone is looking for it, and that's just how it is. But yeah, it was really hard for me to say no in the early days. But I've gotten better at it because you just can't. Like, we would be out of business if we donated something to everyone who asked us, and every one of them. So many of them are very worthwhile, and I would love to be able to donate to them all, but like, you just cannot. And so we don't actually have a limit on what we're doing, but it's sort of, there are certain organizations that we're trying to support, and I'd like to be a little bit more organized about it and maybe choose something to focus on every year. But right now we do a lot with the Leonard County Food Bank, with the Almonte Hospital Foundation. And I would like to do something more overseas. Like we have done things with different organizations from where we source our beans. But that's always a little bit tricky because we want to make sure that we've vetted what's happening there and that it's worthwhile. So yeah, I don't have a good answer for that, except that you just have to say no sometimes
Yeah.
and do
Yeah.
what calls to you, I think.
At the end of the day, you're not going to please everybody. And you know what? That simple email that somebody's asking for is just like, okay, on to the next person. And
Yeah.
you really can't think too much into it.
Yeah. And there are ways to do it where you're not necessarily losing money, but you're helping them out. And
Yeah.
so those are the ones that we really are trying to do.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
starting to find that too, especially with, well, not necessarily donation requests, but more things that I can handle and
Yeah.
more opportunities that are exciting. But it's like, oh, okay, how much time do I really have to be able to do this?
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is.
It's hard to set those boundaries too for yourself.
It really was.
Because you never know what opportunity might open a door or what it might lead to or growth wise or anything.
Yeah.
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 It's a juggling act for sure.
Yeah. One that we're doing soon that I'm really excited about is we're launching the Almonte Chili Cook-Off for the first time. And so we've invited the businesses, restaurants in Almonte to bring their chili, and we're going to sell tickets to it. And all of the ticket revenue will go to the food bank.
Amazing.
And so, everyone is donating their chili, and, we're donating our space and our time and all of the cups and plates and all that stuff that we're going to use. But I think that I'm hoping we can raise like $4,000 for the food bank from doing that. And I think it will be a fun event, and the community will come out and get to eat some good chili.
Yeah.
And there'll be some nice rivalry between all of the food businesses.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. It's perfect time of the year too for chili.
Yes.
Erica, Hummingbird Chocolate, like I mentioned earlier, it's a prestigious, well-known business, and you guys have received so many awards. You've been featured countless times in magazines, on podcasts, news outlets, media. Was there ever a moment though where you had a pinch me moment with Drew where you're like, Drew, like we're being asked by so and so to be featured, like we've really made it, like they want to interview us, like us, not Purdy's Chocolate or somebody or Laura Secret or someone else, like they want us. What was that moment like for you guys? Receiving not your first award and then countless awards after that.
When we won the Golden Bean in 2016, and so and that is sort of the like best chocolate in the world award from the Academy of Chocolate in London. One, it was just very unexpected that we would win it, so I was blown away by that. And then after that, we reached out to a few media people just to let them know.
Yeah, good.
I think to like CBC and CTV, and didn't really think that anything would really come of that. And the news story really blew up. Like we had the Globe and Mail come. I had a last minute interview request to go, I think it was CBC, to go downtown to their studio. And I had gone in my normal like work gear because I was going to make chocolate, and I was wearing my jeans and like ratty t-shirt and stuff. And then I got this call from the CBC, and I was like, I don't have time to go home and change. And I ran down to, I don't know if you remember Dory's Habit.
Yes.
Brody. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brody was there, and she just like started throwing clothes at me to wear on TV. And she's like, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out later. And just like totally styled me. And
Now she would have put you in Blondie apparel stuff. Now, little
I
self
think she
promotion
did
there.
put me in a Blondie t-shirt and like a jacket and some cute jeans, and gave me boots and everything, like the whole thing. So that was kind of a surreal moment because it was I think that was the national broadcast for that one. And then, the Globe and Mail was a big one. We've been in Chatelaine, which we still get a lot of traffic to our website from, which is really cool. Yeah. But that was very surreal, that whole experience. And I guess you feel like you've made it, but also it just feels very, just surreal.
Yeah. Erica, once again, you're touching on different points that I really want business owners to pay attention to. You guys are celebrating these huge successes and milestones in business, and you want to tell the world it's not that, you're bragging or anything and saying like, look at us, like, look what we've all won, but you're taking opportunity and advantage of such a renowned award
Mm-hmm.
and reaching out to these outlets because they're always looking for new stories
Yeah.
and just different opportunities for exposure. Now media outlets are watching and say, well, we need to have them on. And I've noticed this with podcasts too. Like I follow quite a few podcasts, and when I see that, I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking pop culture wise, but Taylor Frankie Paul, who's now going to be the newest Bachelorette on The Bachelor. And it's like if she's featured on one podcast, she's featured on multiples.
Right.
And it's just added exposure. And so I think this is a good reminder for any business owner that if there is a really exciting milestone that you've reached in business, call CTV,
Yeah.
call CBC, like invite them to come out. I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
And you just never know who might say yes.
Yeah.
And you never know what other opportunities might lead you to. So, or wholesale opportunities, or random business owners that say, "Well, I want them in our shop." And so, I just think it's a great opportunity for exposure. It's a great opportunity to step outside your comfort zone
Mm-hmm.
and to celebrate your wins because
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah. I mean, if you're not
telling you
telling,
guys that.
yeah, if you're not reaching out, then no one else is going to, right?
That's
You're
right.
waiting for them to come to you. And I say that as someone who really does not, like that kind of attention
Yeah.
generally, right? But it is the best thing for the business.
That's right. It is.
Yeah. We joke that they all wanted to come and talk to us because Parliament wasn't in session and all of the parliamentary reporters were bored and didn't have anything else to do. But it doesn't matter. We had great coverage, and I know we got a lot of business out of that, like just the wholesale accounts. Even
Yeah.
now who we talk to reference having heard about us back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Now, behind every business, Erica, is a big why. So, what do you hope people feel or experience when they bite into a piece of Hummingbird chocolate?
Mm-hmm. I hope they experience just joy. I mean, I love eating, and I love good food, and I love simple food. And so I feel like we make chocolate for my people in that way, right? Like it's simple and it's good, and that's why you should eat it, I think. And I've heard that from a lot of people who say that they'll keep a few chocolate bars in their house and they'll eat one square, and it just is enough to make them feel a little bit of happiness, in that moment. So that's the big why, I think. And then, now we have an amazing team, and so it's much bigger than just Drew and I making it. It's like it's all of us, and so I think about that. Like we're also doing it for everyone who's part of Hummingbird and continuing to make the chocolate, and then the farmers that we work with and those associations and cooperatives are such a big part of it too.
Well, Erica, you were a big part of today with my 5-year anniversary special because when I was going back into my podcast archives and thinking about different businesses that have really made big impacts and big strides and have really blown up since I've last featured them, you were one of the people that were at the top of my list this year that I wanted to highlight and celebrate and shine a spotlight on. And so you were one of my 4 boss babes that inspire me every day.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. But let's turn it on you now, Erica. Who's one local boss babe that has been instrumental throughout your entire duration in business thus far that you want to shine and spotlight on OV Boss Babes?
Yes, that's an easy answer for me. It's Shirley Dugo from Fulton's Maple.
Oh, yes.
I think I've known her since pretty close to the beginning of our business. I think she's just such a powerhouse. She's like a force of nature. I don't know if you know Shirley,
Yes,
but
I do.
yeah. And she's always been so generous in her advice and her support and encouragement. And, even if she drops off maple sugar for us because we make a maple bar with their sugar and we get to chat for a few minutes. And, if I'm discouraged about something, she's just such a great cheerleader and helps to put things in perspective and has good advice. She's just so generous with her advice and her support. So yeah, I think she's amazing.
Fantastic shout out. Well, Erica, thank you so much again for being a part of our wonderful celebration event today and for being a part of OV Boss Babes, and keep doing the great work because I'm watching.
You too. I'm so happy to be celebrating 5 years with you. I hope you're so proud of it because you definitely should be.
Thank you. Well, cheers to us, eh?
Yeah.